All right, I'm back. Now, whether or not this isn't a debate. What I'm about to share with you is not a debate. This is a message and questions I have for every single Canadian citizen. No matter where you sit politically, I don't care. But if you could, sit and listen to my questions and see if you could answer them with all honesty. Without blowing a gasket, let's see what we got. The scariest part of what I got to share today will be at the end of this video. My first question to all the people in Canada would be, how did the people we hired to work for us manage to be in the position of ultimately controlling us? How did that happen? Like, for real. That's an honest, valid question. How do you think that happened? People hired by us to work for us somehow got into a position of being able to ruin us and our families if we didn't accept a needle in our body. How did that happen? How did people we hired in our country, presumably our own countrymen and women, all pass a young leaders program in the WEF outside of Canada? How did that happen? How did we get to a place where our young children are being taught that it is wrong to refer to their mother or their girlfriends as a she or a her or even a mother? Instead, they're being taught that they are theys or a them. We recently had our 9-year-old niece in the car with us as we took her back to the BC ferries, and a lady was going beside, and Sarah made a friendly comment about the lady, and the 9-year-old niece of ours replied to her, trying to correct her, saying, "That's a they." How did we get there? How did all of the sudden it was mandatory to have tampon machines in boys' bathrooms in Canada? This is a serious question. How did we get there? How did we get to a place where our tax money was being spent to fund grown men dressed as sexually provocative women to be alone with our children in a room for a moment called drag queen story time? How did we get to that place? In British Columbia, our tax money was doled out to summer camps called drag queen summer camps for our children. How did we get there? How did people that we hired to work for us all of a sudden get into a position where they do not have to answer to us, and if we yell and scream and protest that they must answer to us, they ruin us by taking away our bank accounts and beating us? How did we get there? All of the money that we put into our national bank account is put there for the betterment of us, our communities, and our families. How is it that the small group of people we allegedly hired to work for us, a very serious note, how is it that they give $1.24 billion of that money to the national news, the CBC? How do we get there? I didn't vote on that. I was even asked if that was okay with me. Whoever controls the information controls the population. Nobody asked me or for my vote on it, or nobody asked me if it was okay if billions of dollars was going to leave our country to go to other countries to fund wars and killing people. Nobody asked me if that was okay. Nobody asked me to vote on that decision either. Now, here's a real scary thing that's going on right now as we all sit here. Right now, in the Canadian military, it is not okay to refer to a female as a she or a her. And if you do, you're going to be in big trouble if you do not comply. That's in our military. Also with our Canadian law officers, it's not okay to refer to as your mother or your sister or your aunt as a mother or a she or a her. It's not okay to do that in the police department across Canada today. Why is that? How do we get there? Well, here's one scary and obvious answer to those two questions. Back in the day, we had our strong, kick-ass, A-type, very intelligent types, compassionate types, fair types in our military and in our law enforcement. They could take care of problems. They could manhandle the bad guys. They worked for the people and kept the people safe in our communities and our country. Well, the people who are now controlling us, they need the military and our law enforcement to enforce what they want to do to us. How are you going to be certain that you do have a full military and law force that is going to do exactly what you say, no matter how alarming it should be? Well, first of all, you're going to weed out the good ones by finding out who is going to comply or not, right? You take those law officers and those military personnel who object to not being able to refer to as a female as a she, you take them and you eliminate them. Who are you left with? You are left with the people who carry guns and badges who are ultimately going to follow your orders no matter how ridiculous they are. And that's where we're going, and that's where we are today. Now, how scary is that? This is very, very serious. This isn't a topic where you point at your neighbor, you point at somebody, or you point at this person, you fight amongst ourselves. If you answer these questions honestly to yourself, you should be damned afraid and actually even possibly terrified of those people that we originally hired to work for us who are now, obviously, against us. How do you think many of us got to the place where it was okay to excommunicate a family member from the family for not agreeing with you when it comes to whether or not a female is female, or maybe whether or not you should have accepted a needle in your arm? How did it get to the point it was okay for us to fight with each other non-stop instead of focusing on what's really going on? How do we get to the place where the majority of the population can't see this clear recipe that is being imposed on us to ensure we are divided and weak? You comply, and don't give them things that you rightfully should be able to have, ever. Now, just in case you missed what I'm trying to put down, I'm not trying to put down an argument about females or males or injections. What I'm trying to make all of you see clearly is the recipes that are being successfully used to divide our families and our societies, our communities, and our country. Very successfully being used on us today. And that's also, those recipes have been used on our law enforcement and our military so that these evil demons are only left with a strong force of individuals who cannot think for themselves and will do anything they command them to do. That is ultimately what's been going down the past handful of years. Without a doubt. What are you going to do about it?